Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Health Insight podcast brought to you by Drink Positive. I'm your host, Mishuk, and today we have a very special episode lined up for you. Joining us is the esteemed Dr. Nandita Shah, founder of SHARAN, an organization dedicated to promoting health and reversing diseases through food. Dr. Shah is not only a pioneer in nutritional medicine but also a celebrated author and the recipient of the prestigious Nari Shakti Award. Today, we'll dive deep into the power of plant based nutrition and its profound impact on our health. So, whether you're a long term advocate or just curious about a plant based diet, this episode is definitely for you. So, thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for joining us today. It's truly an honor. And
Pleasure.
could you start by telling us a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to found Sharan?
Okay, I grew up as a vegetarian and I felt that I was living a compassionate life. I knew that I wasn't eating meat just because I didn't want to kill animals. So when I found out that in order for us to consume milk, a cow has to be artificially inseminated and her baby has to be taken away from her. And if her baby is a male, then it would probably go for slaughter. I was shocked. And I could even relate it to my grandmother giving us a dessert made of colostrum. It was called cheek in Maharashtra. So it was made from colostrum. That means that the first milk of the cow is so coveted, but it's so shameful because the calf hasn't got any, right? And then I found out that, like, in order for us to have cheese, the inner lining of the calf's stomach was used to curdle the milk. And when I heard about all of this, I knew that I had to stop consuming milk, but I didn't stop right away. I was still consuming dairy products in, like in the form of ghee or butter when foods were cooked in that. And it took me some time. It actually happened when Ranjit Konkar, who was working with BWC at that time, was at my home, and there were these butter toffees on my coffee table that I wasn't eating, but someone had given them to me, and he said I wouldn't have it because they contained butter. And that time I was still eating foods that sometimes were cooked in butter. So when he said that, I really got it, and I said no more of any kind of dairy for me. And that was the best thing I did in my life. It was
Truly,
after that I started Sharan, because I realized that it made a profound impact on my state of well-being. And when I grew up thinking that dairy is good for health, and I always used to consume, and I loved dairy because it was good for health. And when I became vegan, 100% vegan, I started seeing articles that explained how milk was actually harmful to health. Articles in medical journals that I had never seen before, but they were already there. In fact, all the information is out there, but we only see what we already know.
true. Yeah, that's very inspiring to know, and I'm quite astonished, and I'm pretty sure our listeners will also feel the same way. So, diving a little more deeper into this conversation, you've written extensively about reversing diabetes. So, can you share some insights? How a dairy-free diet would influence illnesses like diabetes.
Yeah, it's not just about being dairy free, but it's about eating the foods that were most closely designed for us. Like, if you have a cow, you will give it grass, and if you have a lion, you'll give it meat. You won't reverse the two because a cow instinctively eats grass and a lion instinctively eats meat. But when it comes to us, we don't know what we should eat just because we are not eating by instincts, but we're eating by culture, society, and advertisements. The very first thing our parents teach us is what to eat, and it's what they've been taught. It's not by instincts, right? So, instinctively, if you think about it, every baby loves their mother's milk. But when you first give them cow's milk, no baby appreciates it.
Mm.
Similarly, we call ourselves omnivores, but are we really? Because if we go to a farm or an orchard and see fruits and vegetables, we feel like picking and eating them. But if you see a chicken walk by, or a goat or a cow, our mouth doesn't water because we can't pounce on that animal, tear it apart, or eat it whole like a true omnivore or a true carnivore could. So it's not our food. Now, when we put the wrong fuel in our body, it's akin to putting diesel in a car which runs on petrol, or giving a cow meat or a lion grass. We have to get disease, and that's what's happening. So, unlike a car, our body heals itself and it works all the time to heal. And nutrients are the spare parts for healing. So if we take out the wrong foods and put in the right foods and live a correct lifestyle, our body starts to heal. And it's not just for diabetes, but it's for many diseases. But the reason I wrote the book on diabetes is because India has the largest or second largest population of diabetics in the world. Like China and India compete with each other for this. And um, diabetes is something that you can check at home. That means if somebody changes their diet, they will begin to see results very quickly, and they can see this when they check their blood sugar with their glucometer, and that will inspire them to stay on track. So it's really good for them, you know.
Yes.
So
Um,
it's a good way to illustrate the fact that lifestyle diseases can be reversed. And the reason we have lifestyle diseases today is because we're not eating and living the way we've been designed to, but rather by the way we've been taught to by our culture.
so that's really amazing. And since we are on this topic, I'd like to share a quick story. So when I was growing up with my sister, my mother used to give both of us milk on a daily basis. But my sister used to keep complaining that whenever she drank milk, she used to have these very bad cramps in her stomach and often get diarrhea. So whenever she complained to my mother used to think that she's just making excuses to avoid drinking the milk. And that kept on like that. And it was not until she was an adult that she found out that she's lactose intolerant.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that happens to a lot of people around there. And and a lot of people don't know that there's something like this can happen to someone.
Actually, most of us are lactose intolerant, but we just don't know it because our stomach produces enzymes to digest milk only when we're young. And as we grow, we don't produce those enzymes anymore.
Yes. So there are a lot of misconceptions about dairy-free diet, and I'm sure that often you might encounter some of these. So could you tell us some, like, the most common ones that you've encountered in your journey?
Well, one of the most common is, what do I need as an alternative for milk if I don't drink milk? Like, should I have soy milk or oat milk, or what should I do? And very few people realize that we don't need any milk. Milk is a food only for babies, and we are not babies. And if it's an infant, we can think of what we can give instead. But obviously, mother's milk is best, only if it's not available, should we think. But we don't need milk for nutrients. We need milk right now only because it's difficult to give up the things that we've been used to eating, right? So we need cheese alternatives, milk alternatives, maybe even meat alternatives. because even though meat is not our food, we are used to eating it. So it's the same with milk. But so that's one of the myths. The other myth is Krishna के ज़माने में भी दूध पीते थे.
Right.
Now, that's because usually we don't think about it at all. If Krishna had hundreds of cows or thousands, I don't know how many he had, but say 100, smaller number, how many, how would you have to steal if you had 100 cows, right? The reason he was stealing is because no mother makes more milk than her baby requires. And in nature, actually, no animal drinks another animal's milk. Like pigs don't drink goat's milk and monkeys don't drink elephant's milk. We are the only species that drinks another animal's milk. So, uh, Krishna, maybe milk was something special that was so rare that it was kept up because, after the calf feeds, there may be a little left, but it wasn't in plenty. Actually, uh, the British government brought the first organized dairy industry to India, and then the government promoted milk in order to keep an industry flowing. So when everyone was started to have tea and milk, thanks to the British, more of it, then there was more milk in winter and less milk in summer. And so, in order to have enough milk for all the population in summer that wanted it, I mean, when I grew up, we got milk from ration booths in Bombay. So milk was, and most of the milk was not even produced in India. There were two kinds of milk, whole milk and skim milk. And skim milk was made from the powder milk coming from abroad. But today, India is the largest producer of milk in the world. And that was thanks to Operation Flood, which is actually growing an industry by telling us lies. So, now they have more milk in winter and the amount that's needed in summer. So, what to do with all the extra milk in winter? So, that went into making paneer and cheese and so on and so forth. So, when I grew up, paneer and cheese were not common at all. Paneer was a way to rescue spoiled milk, and cheese, anyone like older than me, my grandparents, for example, would say, cheese, we don't eat cheese, it smells like old socks. But today it's so addictive that everybody's eating it. It even comes on dosas. So, the myth is that we need milk and milk is good for health and we need more proteins and we need milk for calcium, and none of these are true.
Yes, in fact, we have a couple of videos on the same topics as well on our channel, and it's resonating very well with also the amazing insights that you're sharing on this podcast as well. Now, Dr. Shah, shifting a little bit of gears here, you emphasize a lot on the mind body connection. And, just for our listeners, how would you say that mental and emotional well-being is tied to our diet?
See, I never knew this. It took me a while, but I realized that there was a big change in my state of mind when I became 100% plant based. And I noticed it in my patients too. In fact, my patients first told me before I noticed it in myself. Then I realized that it's true for me too. And I also realized that I could see the difference in the state of mind by consuming a little bit of dairy by mistake. Now, how does this happen? We experience emotions through hormones. Like, for example, if we are stressed, we produce adrenaline and cortisol. If we are happy, we may produce serotonin and dopamine. And animals produce the same hormones. So, if a cow is artificially impregnated, that's stressing because that's rape. But then she delivers the baby, and all she wants to do is feed her baby. So, if a baby is taken away from her and tied up, or if it's a male, it goes to slaughter. If a baby is taken away from her, she is stressed. She doesn't want her milk to be um, taken away and given anywhere else except for her baby. And so all that adrenaline and cortisol comes to us. I've seen people who went on a completely plant based diet and just consumed chocolates and found that they were feeling depressed. I know a doctor in the United States who was holding retreats for depression and anxiety reversal, 14-day retreats, and he was helping people shift their depression with plant-based diet.
That
Imagine that, and today so many people take medicines for these diseases that could just be cured by shifting what we put in our mouths.
that that's, that's truly amazing. And also, it said that our gut is the second brain, right?
Right. And that's because of another thing, actually, that we have a whole set of bacteria within us and on us. In fact, we are living with 10 times more bacteria than the number of cells in our body. Imagine. Now, there are good bacteria and bad bacteria, but the good bacteria, they control how we feel, and the fiber in our food is what they thrive on, but there's no fiber in milk, so it's not good even for our gut microbiome. There are
Okay,
many reasons that milk is bad for us. Number one, that in order to, um, if we manipulate a cow's udders in order to get milk, that cow is injured and by the hands or by the milk machines. And so there's always injury, induration on the udders. There's always pus in the milk and sometimes blood too, but we don't see it because it gets covered with the white. And it's almost impossible to stay away from that. So, in order to control it to some extent, cows are given antibiotics in their food every single day, and these come back to us. On top of that, cows are grazing in garbage dumps because in India there's not enough food to feed humans, leave alone cows. And so the plastic and the toxins from the garbage come back to us. So, and then we can't forget the hormones. Today, most diseases are hormonal diseases. Diabetes is a hormonal problem, insulin is a hormone. And then hypothyroidism, PCOD, infertility. India was a country of overfertility. So, how come we have so much infertility? And then prostate enlargement and breast cancer and prostate cancer and ovarian cancer and so many hormonal problems that we could avoid if we stayed away from upsetting the hormonal balance from hormones from outside through animals.
so, on the topic of hormones, Dr. Shai, I'm just going to ask you something a little bit controversial to get your opinion on that. Since you mentioned hormones, a lot of the mental illnesses that we see today is due to uh, hormonal or chemical imbalances in our brain. So do you think that our lifestyle, especially the foods that we eat, or or people who consume dairy and meat, which have laced with these stress hormones, would potentially lead to something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the less you consume of animal products, the less stressed you are. The more stressed the animals, the more stressed we are when we consume them. 100%. So, you know, we always help people prevent and reverse diseases by removing the cause of the disease. For example, when we go to doctor and doctor tells us cut down sugar, cut down carbohydrates for diabetes, nobody gets cured, even though they do it. And so the reason that like the reason they don't get cured is because sugar is not the cause of diabetes. High blood sugar is the result of diabetes. Cause of diabetes is insulin resistance. If you remove all the causes of insulin resistance, diabetes cannot stay. If we remove all the causes of the various diseases we have today, and many of them largely come from the wrong foods and the hormones and the various things, chemicals also, that we put into our bodies, we will be well. Actually, health is our birthright. We are we are taught how to be sick from a very young age. That's why I always say that what I teach is unlearning, because we already know how to be well by our instincts, but we have learned how to be sick and we stay that way because of our culture and our conditioning. We are living in a culture of disease.
That that's truly, a very different perspective, and a very enlightening one, I would say. I wish I had these insights when I was adopting a dairy-free lifestyle. But thank you so much for that. Now, moving on to some of your personal accomplishments, you've received the Nari Shakti Award in 2026. And if you could tell our listeners how this recognition has impacted your work, and the reach of your message that you're trying to put out there in the world.
Well, I think that having won the Nari Shakti Puraskar is a great honor, and I really thank the Ministry of Women for that. And I think that it just gives people more confidence in the work that I do. So yeah, in that sense, it's helped. But we are still so far from letting people know that they can prevent and reverse diseases just by making simple lifestyle changes, right?
True. Yes. So, on that note, for someone who's trying to adopt a dairy-free diet, or is very new to their journey, what are some of the recommendations, or suggestions that you would have for them?
Okay, well, I come from a health perspective, which is why even though there are a lot of replacements for dairy in the market, I don't highly recommend them because they're processed foods that may have oil or sugar or something else in them. And we always recommend a whole food, plant based, organic lifestyle. But it's a good transition food. Like if you're giving up milk but you still need your tea, please use oat milk or almond milk or whatever milk you like. However, don't say that it's too expensive because it's so cheap to make your own milk at home. And nowadays, you get milk makers that look like blenders but actually make milk. And you can make your milk and save money and improve your health and save animals and do everything at the same time. I don't even know why people would not do it. So I think that, like on Sharan's website, we have lots of recipes, free recipes, 600 free recipes, where people can learn how to make dairy replacements, all kinds of different cheeses, and like how to make paneer or how to make yogurt or anything that people traditionally use milk for, even sweets. We have so many recipes. Even something like dal makhani, where, and we have, like today, I just spoke to a doctor from our team, And she did an event for 1,600 people, mostly doctors at the hospital, but also students at the hospital. And one of our facilitators taught the staff of the mess how to make the food, and the food was laid out for 1,600 people, and it was so delicious and so amazing. So if people can understand that, like, there's no deprivation, there's just a slight new learning, and you can have all the foods that you traditionally had and enjoy them. Why not? Why are we waiting to get sick? Right?
Absolutely. So, we've almost reached the end of our conversation. But before we wrap up, if there is any message that you would like to give to our listeners that would benefit them.
I would say that the very best insurance, health insurance, is health itself. It's so simple to achieve it. We can help you through our website. We have lots of information, free downloading, I mean, free books for download. My Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days covers way more than diabetes, and it's only for 299. So it's so inexpensive and so possible to get well. Don't stay sick, and get weaned today if you're not already weaned.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for all your insights. They were truly amazing, and I really had a great conversation with you. Once again, thank you so much. It was truly an honor to have you in the Drink Positive show here. And to our listeners, it's a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed the insights from Dr. Nandita. And I'll put all the links to Sharan in our description so you can have a look. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to drink positive. Thank you so much.